In this tutorial in Cyberlink PowerDirector, we'd like to give you some tips on using timeline markers and clip markers in your project. If you're an owner of PowerDirector 20 or user of PowerDirector 365, you have some new features available with markers. We'll touch on those as well. So what do you use a marker for? And what's the difference between the two? I basically use a marker to set a place in my timecode, either within a component or within the entire project, to tell me that I need to do something or give the purpose of why something happens to be there. Markers also set snap to lines that you can use when you're dragging and dropping elements. Now, a timeline marker, as you see we have two here in the project, is basically hooked to the timecode of the entire project. No matter what you do with the individual components, the video clips, the audio clips, the timeline markers will not move. They will stay there because they're anchored to the timecode of the project. Now the clip markers, on the other hand, and I have two on this audio clip, are tied to the timecode of the element. So when I move my audio clip, you notice that the markers themselves will also move. They're embedded in that element. So they move, but the timeline ones do not. So that's one basic difference. So how do you set one? How do you move one? How do you delete one? To set a marker, the easiest thing to do is to highlight the element if it's not a timeline marker. Let's set one in the audio clip. I'm going to move here, put my time indicator here, and simply press the M key, and now it's set a little blue marker at the default color. I'll move over here, and I'll be in the audio clip again. I'll press M, and I just set another marker. To make it go away, I do Shift M, and that makes it disappear. You can also right-click on it, and you get a pop-up menu. Mine's off the screen, but it says Clip Marker, and then you can do all kinds of things with it. But I like the M key. It's really simple, really easy to remember for marker. One of the things I'm going to do is now set one on the video clip. I just highlight the video clip, and I press M, and there I've set a marker. Now what if I want to set one in the timeline? It's a little bit tricky, I found out. You have to make sure that you have nothing highlighted on that place in the time code. So if I set one now, it will only set a video marker. And here it will set only an audio marker for that track. I have to click off the tracks. And now if I want to set a marker in the timeline of my project, I press M, and now it applies it to the timeline. So that's the way in which you can do that. Now, markers are easy to move. If you simply highlight the clip that it's tied to, if it's a clip marker, and drag left or right, and it will move it. Likewise, you can highlight marker in the timeline and drag it left or right, and it will move it accordingly. But there's a precise way to do that, and we'll get to that in a moment. If you want to move between markers, very easy. Hold the Shift key down and press the left or right arrow. Now you see where my time code is. I'm going to hold Shift and press the left arrow, and it will jump to that marker, and again and again and again. It doesn't care whether it's a timecode marker tied to the clip or a timecode marker tied to the entire project, the timeline. It will go from one to the other. It really is immaterial which kind of marker we're working with. But Shift left arrow and Shift right arrow, very easy way to move between markers. So let's go to our clip marker on the audio track, and let's pick this one here. I'll double click on the marker, and now I have an edit marker pop-up screen. So I can go to the screen and I can type the name for a marker. Maybe I want to diminish the volume here in the audio. So I can type in diminish volume, and I want to be precise, and that's what I like this screen for. Say I actually want it to be 2 and 20 frames into the project. I can edit the time code there, and I can put in a detailed comment. Let me do that. Because as your projects get more and more complicated, you may forget exactly why that marker is there, what purpose it is. It's basically a way to annotate your project by putting these markers in. You also have, in the newer versions, you have color codes that you can add, and maybe you'd like to assign a certain kind of color to a certain function as a marker, and you can do that now. If you want to remove it, you click the remove button. Otherwise, I'll simply click OK here. And now we have our marker. If I hover over it, I'm going to see both the title and the time code and the comment on the marker. So that's a nice feature. There is something else you can do only with timeline markers. So we'll go back up to our timeline, and I'll click on this marker here. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose to edit all timeline marker. Now this is available only for timelines. It's not available for the clip markers. I'll click on this here, and now I have a master list of all my timeline markers in my project. I can click on any of these, like these last two. They do not have a title. I can add a title here if I want to. I can just double click and put title. I can also change the time code by double clicking in the column for time. Maybe I want that to be 15 seconds. And I can also edit a comment in here. I find it easier to edit this by simply clicking on the marker, but this is how you can see all of your timeline markers. So it's only available for that flavor of marker. You can also click any marker here, and you can click a minus key, and that will delete that marker. We'll remove that one. Unfortunately, I don't see a plus key to add one, but this does allow you to see all the markers that are available in your entire project that are simply on your timeline. So that's a nice feature. So you can edit timeline markers, or you can edit clip markers in these ways in the most recent version of CyberLink PowerDirector.